Welcome to Murfreesboro Storytellers. We're coming to you from historic downtown Murfreesboro, actually on a lot on the public square where a house stood many years ago when General John Hunt Morgan and Martha Reedy were wed here on December 14th, 1862. So we're coming to you from a definite historic site, and we're here today to talk about Main Street, Murfreesboro in Rutherford County. We have Kathleen Herzog, who is the Executive Director of Main Street, and Brian Robertson, who is the Vice Chair of the Main Street Board, and Brian is also Chief Information Officer for Rutherford County. Welcome.
Thank you, John. We're just so pleased to be here. And did you order this weather?
Beautiful day in downtown Murfreesboro. Couldn't ask for better.
It's always a beautiful day in downtown Murfreesboro.
Tell us, we know Main Street down East Main and down West Main Street of Murfreesboro, but what is the organization Main Street?
Okay. Main Street is a nonprofit organization that actually came to our town, Murfreesboro, in 1985. And we, John, are old. We are one of the first 5 Tennessee Main Street programs in the state, Murfreesboro was. This is what happened. Back in the late 70s, people in Washington, D.C. at the National Trust for Historic Preservation observed that smaller towns were just dying and people were moving out to malls. And so these were very forward-thinking people, and they formed a 4-point approach to downtown revitalization, which is, by the way, trademarked, and this approach is still used today. And Main Street came to this community because we had forward-thinking people at the time who really pushed for this program, for Murfreesboro to be a part of this program. One of the things that our town and our program has enjoyed, which by the way, 1985 to 2015 will be 30 years old next year. And we have some exciting things planned for that, which we can talk about later. But we'll be celebrating our 30th anniversary. These people really, I just can't say enough about them because it was sort of controversial.
It was.
And so some of those people that were on that very first board of directors, actually we saw today, Bruce Plummer, Jack Weatherford,
Right.
I mean, I don't want to leave anybody out, Blake Tidwell, who saw what a benefit this would be. But what I started to say that's been so remarkable and how fortunate we are is our 2 local governments have always supported this notion. And we have huge support from the city of Murfreesboro, and we always have, and thank you very much, from Rutherford County government.
And when you say support, are you talking about funding
Both.
as well as
Both.
supporting the program?
Because we're a nonprofit,
Right.
we basically have to raise our money. I mean, we have to raise our funds. But every year we get a jump start, as Mr. Adelot used to call it, what would jump start our budget from the city of Murfreesboro. We request funding.
Okay.
And from the Rutherford County government,
Sure.
we request funding.
Okay.
And we are viewed as, you know, an outside agency, and we kind of fall under the tourism
Okay.
category for that funding. But we have to raise the rest. And Main Street is also has benefited through the years from just wonderful boards
Sure.
of directors. We have a 20-member board. These people are all volunteers, so they have to give up their time to come to
Right.
board meetings. We have 4 main committees which represent the 4 approaches, and that's promotion, economic development, design, and organization, which is the fundraising part.
Brian, tell us some of the accomplishments that Main Street has enjoyed making downtown Murfreesboro a revitalized business section.
Well, my first recollection of that progress was all the way back in the, I suppose, early 80s, late 80s, Kathleen,
85.
when they, 85, okay, and she can speak better to this than I, but as a high school student, I remember the major construction going on in the downtown area where we moved all of the electrical underground, and made so much progress in the cosmetics of the square, including a lot of facade renovations and so forth. So that was my earliest impressions of the square, was how much better it looked than it had been in my childhood.
As I recall, a lot of work done on sidewalks and curb and gutter.
I guess the first big phase was public improvements.
Okay.
Our sidewalks were not accessible for handicapped people. They were actually quite dangerous. And so all these beautiful crosswalks, the planters, the lovely lamp posts, as you said, the buried electric lines. I mean, all of that was under those first 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years of Main Street coming to town. It was just not a very aesthetic place. And so one of our board members is very fond of saying that Main Street has set the table. and I think we've done a wonderful job with that. And then we really want everyone to fall in love with our downtown. And so that's why we promote. We have a lot of promotions.
And tell us about some of those promotions, some of which are fundraisers, others are just general promotions.
We don't consider our fundraiser a promotion. That's a party, though. We're party people. We're the fun people. I guess our signature event would have to be Jazz Fest. This 2015 will be our 19th Jazz Fest. And John, I'm real proud to tell you that last year, Murfreesboro Main Street Jazz Fest was voted one of the top 20 events in the Southeast.
Wonderful. By
the Southeast Festival and Events Association, which includes 9 states. We're nominated for that again.
And that's the first weekend in May, is
that
correct?
Yes, and this year it's May 1st and 2nd.
Okay.
We also do a free to the public, and Jazz Fest is free. I mean, we have kids activities, we have workshop for young clinicians. Friday night we have all these high school, every high school in the county is represented with a jazz band. It's just fabulous. And then that's in May. And then in June we start with the Friday night live concerts, and those are the first Friday nights of June, July, August, and September. Wonderful event. 3 hours, bring your lawn chair, sit in front of the courthouse. And you know, I think why people really love this is that they love to be downtown, and they love to sit under those huge trees and be in the shadow of the courthouse. And it makes us feel real small because we're a huge city now, but that gives you a sense of connectedness. And that's a quality of life thing. You can't really put a price tag on that. That's huge. And then I guess the most ridiculously successful promotion that we came up with is a farmer's market around the square, and it opened in 2010. And so this season, we're closing out the season, which was our 5th.
That runs June through October?
Yes, it does. And that's all Tennessee farm-related products only. You know, eggs,
some
honey,
wonderful fresh vegetables and fresh fruits
produce,
and everything else.
And we had the extreme cooperation of the city and the county to help us do this. When you say, well, what do they do to help you? There's a lot of in-kind support from the city and the county to help us do our events. Whether you want to talk about rolling carts for the trash, or, you know, cones to block. And the city and the county cooperated together 2 years ago, and we installed bollards, and that was a word not in my vocabulary until then, that come up out of the ground, and we can close off the inner circle so that cars won't be parked in there for our events.
How about Taste of Rutherford?
Now that's in June. And that's our primary fundraiser, and we have a wonderful time out in the country somewhere where 150 cars can park. We have a selection of the most delicious food from various restaurants all over town, downtown, all over town. It's an open bar, great music. And that's kind of our main fundraiser. And then in September, we have Evening on Main, and that's at a beautiful house on Main Street. And someone is kind enough to open their home for us every year, and people come for heavy hors d'oeuvres and wine, and to have a tour of the house.
Before we get into Christmas, let's let Brian tell us a little bit about his role as vice chair of the Main Street Board.
Certainly. Well, I do serve on the promotions committee, and so all of these events as they come up, we try to find ways to get the word out to the public as to what's involved in the events, and make sure that all the everything is well known. When I think of Taste of Rutherford, I think of the fact that it's such a laid-back event, and it's a little bit unique in that people can actually come in shorts and be a little bit laid back. But we also like to use social media to help get the word out. As a technology guy myself, enjoyed helping see to it that our social media sites are strong, and many times that's the way that people receive, get their information these days. We're delighted to have close to 10,000 followers on our Facebook sites. When you look at the Saturday Market Facebook site, which has probably 3/4 of all of our followers following the Saturday Market site, which I should interject at this point as a board member, if the Saturday Market is a success, it's completely attributable to our executive director who came up with that concept from scratch, from inception to
It took a long time. It took a long time.
And who you'll find on the property every Saturday morning. So we're just, that's some of the roles that we end up playing
Tell
from
about
time
Wi-Fi.
to time. Yes, we had, I think, a really good partnership between Main Street and the Rutherford County government, in that we have placed Wi-Fi transmitters around the square so that shoppers and pedestrians and runners and walkers or attendees to our events are able to have good Wi-Fi connectivity, in hopes that they might be able to take pictures and share information with others who might not know that Jazz Fest is going on, for instance, and be able to post a video up online and do that knowing that they have free Wi-Fi access. So we jointly paid for that between the county and Main Street, and have jointly administered it.
What do you have to, is there a password to get into the Wi-Fi?
There is not. The Wi-Fi network is called Downtown.
Okay.
And when your device goes to the Downtown network, it goes through a splash page that welcomes you, and there's no login whatsoever. Looked at the stats before I came over here today and saw where we're averaging about 92 users per day.
Wonderful.
That utilize the Wi-Fi connection, and that peaks during Jazz Fest and other events, obviously.
And we helped, I think, did we help get another box, or whatever you call that? Did you call it a box?
Yes, yes. You all got another one of the transmitters or boxes.
Transmitters.
Which is located on top of the old Goldstein building.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Over on the south side of the square then, yeah, very
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
So that was just another delightful partnership. And then the other thing that the county, Brian helped very much with the redevelopment and his whole department of the website, which is undergoing construction once more. It seems like that's all websites ever do is, go under reconstruction. But we were able to move to the county server, and that was huge for us.
That gives you a lot more coverage.
Yeah, well, it was just something that was offered to us by by County Mayor Burgess, and we were just very grateful that we could be on their server.
Tell us about Christmas in downtown
Oh
Murfreesboro.
my gosh! Well, Santa Claus comes to town the first Friday night in December every year, and this year it's the night of December the 5th, and on that night we have singing and dancing and caroling. We'll have a stage set up right here behind us on the east side of the courthouse. We partner with city schools, so there'll be a group representing the city of Murfreesboro schools. We have a county school. We have a church choir, downtown church choir. That would be St. Paul's Episcopal Church Choir this year. And after the singing and dancing, of course, if you're here with your little child really wants to go tell Santa Claus what he or she wishes for Christmas. So with a lot of fanfare, County Mayor Burgess and the city mayor and the Santa Claus together all pull the switch and turn the lights on. And then on that night, we had the restaurants stay open and have kind of festive things, and the shops are open. And that's kind of the official kickoff of the Christmas season downtown.
And you have a huge Christmas tree on the square.
We have a huge Christmas tree, and it's usually between 18 and 22 feet. That's a tree that's donated by an individual because we run articles asking for the tree, and it's usually because someone's tree has just gotten way too big for their backyard, or it's too close to the foundation or something like that. And it's a kind of a win-win for both of us because Main Street pays to remove the tree and bring it to the square.
Wonderful.
One of the things when we're talking about Christmas, and I may have to look at my cheat sheet to tell you, but we could not possibly do all we do without volunteers. We have a volunteer committee that helps with Jazz Fest, and on the day of Jazz Fest, the 2 days of Jazz Fest, John, we have 300 people out here just working in 2-hour shifts.
Volunteers.
Yeah,
That's wonderful.
to sell tickets or to help with the children's activities. We have a completely volunteer group that helps with the tree lighting, and it's thousands of volunteer hours that are accrued every year. When you add up all of the board are volunteers because they give up their time to come to board meetings and to come to committee meetings. But when I was telling you about when we came to town and what an impact we had, and I will probably have to cheat a little bit on this, but I think this is real important for people to know. And since Main Street came to town, there have been in our district, in our and we're not talking about just the square. I mean, it's 52 blocks downtown. There have been 492 renovation projects, 60 million, could that be right? I think so. $881,689 spent in rehab dollars in this community.
I can imagine.
I mean, that's just fabulous.
Yes.
And we have the net new businesses since 1985 is 302. That's huge. And the net new jobs, which people kind of don't think about, these independent businesses, we're job incubators too. That figure is 1,838. I mean, that's huge. And the number of volunteer hours just for 213, because I haven't done the numbers for 214, is 3,486. And that's amazing.
Tremendous.
And the other thing that we have kind of developed over the last few years is a retail guide, because the chamber will go to these large trade shows where there are builders or stores, developers trying to attract people to come to this county, like Murfreesboro, Eagleville, Smyrna, Laverne. Well, we kind of thought downtown needed its own profile. So we have a retail profile that we're very proud of that, with all those stats, you know, how many people live within so many miles and that kind of thing.
Those are some of the records you keep, Brian, in your work? Or at least you established them for Main Street?
Well, we at least established the servers that house the data, I suppose, as we share data back and forth.
Provide the backup.
Yes, sir.
Kathleen, tell us now about 2015. You say big plans are in the mix for 2015.
Here's the thing. We haven't showed it to anybody yet, but it's been approved by the board. This is huge. Main Street Murfreesboro will be rolling out its new logo in 2015. We have had the same logo these many years for 30 years, and we're really very excited about that. We thought that we just needed a little bit fresher look, and we have held on to all the historic aspects of the community, but we've kind of, what would be the word? It's an upbeat color scheme.
It is.
Would that be the word?
It is. Certainly
And
is.
so we kind of thought, we have an annual meeting every year in February, and that's where our entire membership is invited, or I mean everybody's invited. So we sort of thought we'd use that opportunity in February of 2015 to roll out our logo. I also want to tell you how many merchants we have in our Merchants Association downtown, which is over 80. And when people join the Merchants Association as a new business or even as an existing business in the downtown district, part of their membership goes to Main Street, so they automatically become a Main Street member. And the merchants are trying to use these same elements of our logo. So we'll kind of have a brand of our beautiful historic downtown. That's our object. And I guess the other thing that we're really looking toward in 2015, Main Street's always been the supporter, the facilitator, the cheerleader. There are going to be a lot of changes afoot with the bridge over Broad, as we know, the big TDOT project, bridge over Broad and what is that? Memorial,
yeah. Right.
Long-term project. That will kind of change the way we enter downtown. So Main Street is at that table. And then the county will be undergoing some changes with the new, as we get off the launch pad finally with the new judicial building. And so we're very happy that we have, there are 2 county representatives on the Main Street board. Brian is one of them, and one is a county commissioner, Shantho Sereno. And then we have 2 city people on the board. Our assistant city manager serves on the Main Street board. And then we have one of the planners is on the Main Street board, Matthew Blomley. So we kind of feel like downtown really needs to be at the table when you talk about the future, whether you want to talk about the immediate future or 2015, is that what it's called? 2035? 2035. Like what is the town going to look like that many years from now?
What do you see the effect on downtown with the movement of the judicial building off the square?
Actually, I think it's a wonderful, wonderful decision that the judicial building decided to stay downtown. Main Street had 2 studies done by experts in Washington, D.C. They were called the Hyatt Palma studies that was funded by the Industrial Development Board, and way back in the late 90s, after spending days and days here and having focus groups, talking to residents, talking to business owners, their recommendation was then, that many years ago, to move the judicial building off the immediate square, but keep it downtown. So truly, Main Street has been in on that plan since day one and has totally supported that notion. In a lot of small towns, the judicial system left the downtown, and we love the lawyers and we love all the people that shop in the shops and eat their lunch, and we really didn't want them to go way away, but they just didn't really have enough room, and you can speak to that better than I can, but they're not going to be that far. So we're happy about that. Very happy.
Any other events planned for 2015 that we haven't talked about?
Well, here's the thing. I would really like to have, and this may be just a twist on the fundraiser, but because we really promote local, okay? We want people to shop local, and we want people to understand why it's so important to buy from an independent business person. Because so much more of your tax dollar stays at home if you do. And if you buy online, 0 goes back to your community. If you buy at a big box store, it's a much smaller percent. So Main Street really promotes local businesses, locally grown food. So we would like to have a farm-to-table dinner. And we don't really know exactly how that's going to look. We don't know if it'll be at a farm, but we'd like to have it as a fundraiser for downtown. It may be downtown. And we will have food produced by the farmers that are in the farmers market. And we just don't have it all worked out yet, but I think you can look forward to that. And then another thing we want to do is get more people living downtown.
I was going to ask you about that. Is that happening?
Well, it is, and Main Street has worked very closely with the city, and I hate to call back on Joseph Adelot again, but he has he's not on the board any longer, but he has such great leadership and has guided us for so many years before he stepped aside and let one of his planners come on the board. And as he said, we have to improve our infrastructure. We have to make sure the sewage and the water and everything is okay for people to come into these second story and in some case third story areas of the building. So that's already underway. I mean, the city has facilitated. The first improvement is the block between West Main and Vine, like where Raleigh Holden Hardware and all that is. So they've redone the sewage.
Ed and Andrea Lowry would be one of the forerunners, I guess, of this.
What about that? And so, you know, how many other towns can boast that we have a privately owned, absolutely splendid home right in our downtown? And they were so wonderful about wanting it to fit in with the architecture, and, you know, it's just such a wonderful addition.
It has very well
my gosh, yes. And we were working with developers on the lot on West Main before the kind of depression hit.
Right.
So we're hoping now that things have picked up, we can get back to that plan.
This will be the lot at the corner of Front and West Main, I guess you're talking about. The old location of Bell Brothers Lumber Company.
I guess so.
That goes way back. Any other plans that you have afoot that you can share with us at this time?
Well, we have a lot going on, John. Please don't let's think of anything else.
Brian, help us. Excuse me. Help us. Other thoughts that we have not mentioned?
Not really. I think it's kind of. I think one of the cool parts about my job as a technology guy and having 18 other technology professionals in our department is getting to work in one of the oldest buildings in our county and bring technology into an antebellum courthouse. And
that is true.
To place a Wi-Fi antenna in a cupola because it is an advantage, has a strategic point to reach all the other buildings. Well, it was a strategic point for Civil War reasons originally, perhaps, and so to repurpose some of that and fit hand in glove in a respectful way in a facility that and building that's that iconic is just one of the greatest privileges we get to undertake day in and day out.
Well, folks, we thank you so much for joining us and talking about Main Street, Murfreesboro.
Thank you so much, John.
And enjoying coming from historic downtown Murfreesboro to talk about this. Kathleen Herzog, Executive Director for Main Street, Murfreesboro, for being with us. Congratulations on the great success you've enjoyed and best wishes for the future.
Thank you, John.
And Brian Robertson, who is Vice Chairman of the Main Street Board of Directors. Brian, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Mr. Hood.
And that's it for Murfreesboro Storytellers. Thank you for joining us.